The first patriarch warned not to attract to the emptiness. In the vast emptiness, there are no sentient beings, no giving, and no receiving. We cultivate to detach from the four forms so that we can terminate our suffering, but in the end, we have submersed ourselves in the four forms to propagate Dharma and save the sentient beings. That is the spirit of the Diamond Sutra. Do you understand that? The Buddha named the sutra as diamond, not because he craved for diamonds, but it is because it is the hardest gem and it is not easy to break. Diamond is very tough. It can cut steel, glass, and other materials. It is also the most precious gem in the world. When the Buddha was still alive, people value diamond as the most valuable asset. The Diamond Sutra helps to break off the attachments. Any Buddhist monk who could not grasp the diamond wisdom of the sutra, they probably will teach the disciples the wrong views instead of the right views. You can see this yourself. For example, in the old days, when you did not go to temples, you were attached to few things. The more you go to temples, the more things you are attached to. When I was a novice monk, I was taught by the Venerable Thich Thong Lai. I did not agree with the way he taught me. The Venerable told me that when I propagate the Dharma in the future, I shouldn't make my disciples deeply involved in rituals. I asked him that the Medicine Buddha Sutra says that we should not break the precepts, break the regulation, or break the rules. Why did Venerable say differently? I see many old women going to the temple and wearing sandals in the main praying hall. Other monks would make them kneel as long as it took to burn off an incense stick. But Venerable did no such thing. Venerable Thich Thong Lai laughed and told me if these old women wore slippers in the main praying, then there would be something for the little monks to earn merits. He said if the Buddha was alive, he would not rebuke anyone who wore slippers in the main praying hall. The Buddha's ultimate goal is to open the true wisdom of all sentient beings. If he scolded her when she was not detached to her self-ego and the four forms, which are selfness, others, sentient beings, forms of giving and receiving, she would hate temples and curse on Buddhist monks. So the fact that she defied the main praying hall was not as dirty as my tainted mind. My mind was dirtier than her dirty sandals. The dirty sandals can easily be wiped out, but the tainted mind took years of cultivating to cleanse it. And the Venerable then told me this story. Once upon a time in China, about 1,000 years ago, there was two honorable monks. The older monk practiced Buddhism in solitary on an eastern mountain. The younger monk practiced on a mountain in the west. The older monk had a little novice monk. 10 years ago, someone left a baby at the entrance of the temple. The younger monk took the baby back to his pagoda and raised him as a little monk. He did not teach the little monk anything. When the little monk was hungry, he gave him food. When he was thirsty, he would give him a drink. When the little monk was tired, he allowed him to sleep. He did not make the little monk recite sutras or hold any precepts. When the older monk cultivated in solitary for 10 years and decided to visit his brother in the Western monk, in the past, they didn't have a phone or anything to contact over long distances. However, the little monk held his precepts strictly, so the gods appeared to inform him that his older brother was on his way to visit him. At that time, the emperor summoned the younger monk to the royal palace. So the younger monk asked the gods to relay the message to his older brother to take care of the little monk, and he will be back in 3 days. He wanted to apologize to his older brother in advance that the little monk did not know how to prepare meals. The god sent the message to his older monk that his younger brother had to attend an official meeting with the king and will be back in 3 days. The little monk did not greet the older monk when he arrived. The older monk wrote that down in his notes. Normally, the younger monk prepared the meal for him and the little monk. At lunchtime, the older monk was waiting for the little monk to serve him. The little monk instead asked why the older monk did not cook anything because his master always cooked for him every day. The older monk jotted that down in his notebook again before he went to the kitchen to prepare the food. Once the food was ready, the little monk ate while the older monk just drank his tea. The little monk asked him why he did not eat. The older monk said that the Buddha taught his disciples to eat at lunch only. The little monk said that his master ate when he felt hungry, which was usually after his meditation, which was in the afternoon or at night. The older monk said that was not acceptable, and he wrote that down in his book. He kept writing down the mistakes made by the little monk until it was nighttime. The older monk then meditated, and the little monk went to sleep. He asked if the little monk didn't know how to meditate and what the little monk learned while he lived in the pagoda for the past 10 years. The little monk said that his master told him cultivating was to eat when he felt hungry and sleep when he felt tired. The older monk was so frustrated and kept writing all the mistakes made by the little monk for the next 3 days, which added up to hundreds of mistakes. When his younger brother arrived, he was so upset and said that he practiced Buddhism in solitary for the past 10 years. He did not know how his younger brother did, but based on the little monk, he could tell that his younger brother did not cultivate Dharma very well. His younger brother did not teach the little monk any precepts, formality rituals, reciting sutras, and chanting his Buddha name, respecting his masters, and value Dharma. It was a waste for the little monk to live at the temple for 10 years. The older monk was so disappointed. He did not have any disciples because he practiced in solitary, but his brother couldn't teach a little monk. Their Dharma language wouldn't spread to repay the Buddha. The younger monk said that he should have dinner first. The little mistake was he couldn't wait after their meals. They went to prepare dinner and ate. After eating, the older monk took out his notes and started criticizing all the mistakes made by the little monk. For example, the disciple had to prepare meals for his master. Once the meals was ready, the disciple had to fan for the master while the master ate. The disciple ate when the master was done with his meal, and he was not allowed to eat whenever the master ate. The disciple had to serve tea to his master after the meal. Once the master finished picking his teeth and wiped his face with wet towels, then the disciples could eat. The older monk handed his notes to his younger brother. The younger monk felt odd about his little disciple as soon he got back to the western mountain. It was the first time the little one knelt at the entrance to wait for him. When the dog barked to signal that he arrived, the little monk then said, "I bow to welcome Master home. I wish Master health and happiness." The younger monk was annoyed and asked who told the little monk to do that. The little monk said that the older monk did. At dinner, the little monk used 2 fans to blow at the 2 monks instead of eating. The older monk listed hundreds of mistakes made by the little monk, and in the end he said that he should take the little monk back to the eastern mountains. Leaving the little monk with the older monk would waste the little monk's life. The younger monk calmly said, "Brother, I thought after 10 years of solitary practicing, you already rid your delusional mind and see your true mind. It turned out after 10 years of solitary cultivation, your knowledge about Dharma is less than a mundane monk like me. Brother, do you know where you went wrong? This little boy has Buddha's nature that is not different from yours or mine. His Buddha's nature is not bigger or smaller than Buddha's nature of a Venerable. That was the reason I don't want to teach him all the rules and regulations, so he will be filled with the wrong views, and we will then have to use all the sutras, precepts, and debatings to remove the wrong views from his pure mind later on. Therefore, I let him develop naturally. What was the reason I did not teach him anything besides eating when he is hungry, drinking when he was thirsty, and sleeping when he is tired? Because our Master taught us that simplifying the mind is Dharma. Practicing Dharma requires eating. Practicing Dharma without eating will lead to death from starvation. Drink when you are thirsty. Sleep when you are tired. Is there anyone who can stay awake forever? There was Venerable Anya Lot. The Venerable did not pay attention during the Dharma talk given by the Buddha. His mind was always wandering, and he had a problem focusing. The Buddha reproved the Venerable for leaving his parents and his national duties to learn Dharma from the Buddha, but did not focus during the lecture. Venerable Anya Lot accepted his mistake. He knelt down in front of the Sangha and vowed that he would not sleep from there on in. Because of that, he became blind after 3 months of sleep deprivation. Brother, I do not want the little boy to become blind like Venerable Anya Lot. I only want him to eat when he is hungry, drink when he is thirsty, and rest when he is tired. One day, when he will be old enough, I will help him to see his true mind and his Buddha's nature like mine. Brother, as you can see, because of all the disciplines you made him follow, such as only eating after masters finish eating, he lost his true nature. As you read the Diamond Sutra, you know that Dharma is used to break off the self-ego. You had lived a monastic life for over 40 years and entered solitude for 10 years, but you made the little boy fan for us. Brother, you know that the Buddha's nature of his and ours are equal. We both preach the never despite Bodhisattva in the Lotus Sutra. We practice the vows of the never despite Bodhisattva. We respect all other human beings because they all have Buddha's nature. We broke the self-ego and eventually we attained Venerable level. In the old days, you did not make anyone fan for you. However, after 10 years of solitude, you made this little boy hold fans while we ate. Brother, you never mentioned if fanning creates the blessing. Then where did the blessing come from? Blessing did not come from you practicing Dharma because you still hold your ego. Your blessing is not as much as someone who did not survive solitude but already detached from his ego. As someone who did not make the 10-year-old boy to fan for 2 80-year-old corpses. Living a monastic life for 70 to 80 years and still did not understand the essence of the Diamond Sutra earned no blessing, just owing other sentient beings. The blessing comes from opening up our mind to see our Buddha's nature. The Buddha appeared in this world to preach the Dharma, so people became less evil, less killing, and respect their parents. Brother, we earn our blessing by preaching Dharma Sutras to other people so they can understand and remain with a true mind and see their Buddha nature. Once that happens, that person will become a Buddha and benefit for all sentient beings. That is the blessing from opening our minds, my brother. There is no blessing from holding your self-ego, from making the boy kneel in front of the temple entrance. He is a growing boy and needs to eat, but you wouldn't allow him to eat once it's past noon. Even the little Buddha didn't make his disciples practice ascetic life. He practiced ascetic life for 6 years and concluded that that was not the way to teach enlightenment. We should not do the ascetic ways. Brother, from now on, I like to teach my disciples in my own way. He then summoned the little monk and told him to disregard all the teaching from the older monk. He only wanted the boy to eat when he felt hungry, drink when he feels thirsty, and rest when he felt tired. The little monk asked his master, "But master, your brother told me to ask you to teach me to cultivate so that I can be free to escape the cycles of birth and death. I should not follow your concepts of eating when I am hungry. That concept only condemns me to hell. So, master, what can I do to be free?" The younger monk asked his little disciple, "Little one, who imprisons you that you feel you must be free?" The novice monk looked left and right and then said, "I live with you for 10 years without feeling trapped. However, once I lived with Master's older brother, I felt suffocated. I have to sleep on time, wake up when the rooster crows. I have to heat up the water and recite Sutra at 4 a.m. Once done, I have to prepare breakfast, and if I forget to place the teacup on the saucer, then your brother would lecture me." His master calmly told him, "That was my brother's entrapment to you, not me. Therefore, you do not need to do that. Whatever he tied you with, you can simply untie that, and you are immediately free." At that moment, the little monk found his way to enlightenment, and he prostrated to his master. That was a historical story that teaches the concepts of living simply in Dharma. A master who told his disciples to recite sutras whenever they have free time is a master who teaches his disciples living simply Dharma. A master who taught his disciples to recite sutras at noon or at 4 a.m. to have blessing is not a master who teaches his disciple to live simply. A master who teaches preparing vegetarian dishes with the hot pot that never cooks meat before to have blessings If using the pots contaminated with cooking meat, then the disciples would not have any blessing because the pots are impure. The truth is the pots are pure, but the master mind is impure. As you can see, we tend to attach to formality when we cultivate Dharma because of what our parents and our masters have the wrong views. If master views are the wrong views, he will teach his disciples to have the wrong views as well. So who entraps us? Many female Buddhist followers who visit the temples learn that offering fruit must be placed on the west, and flowers have to be placed on the east. If their husbands accidentally placed the flowers on the west and the fruits on the east, she would announce that her husband was wrong. Which direction is the east, and which direction is the west? The Buddhists did not teach us that. East or west is simply a noun to temporarily call as east and west, but there is no true east or west. Once you understand the Diamond Sutra, you will see freedom is limitless. No one entraps us so that we feel the need to untie ourselves. No one places us in the uninterrupted hell. Everyone has the same Buddha's nature and devil's nature. The earth store Bodhisattva is very compassionate to release us from hell. The Kuan Yin Bodhisattva is always listening to the beckoning of the helpless to save them. We have to pay attention to this. The truth is, our mind of attachment determines the level of our cultivation. The more we attach, the lower the level we will attain. For example, your neighbor curses at you a few times before you start to fight back, because your respect for your neighbor is low. Now, if that was your brother, it would take more than a few curses to start a fight, because your respect for your brother is higher. Your brother curses and does things that make you angry. Once you no longer can hold your anger, you will then start to fight back. That still doesn't put you in the intermittent hell. Being your master, you bow to me when you come to attend the Buddhist retreat. You offer money and support the system. One day, I said something that hurt your ego. Unlike other monks, when I preach Dharma to you, I didn't sweet talk to gain the favors from my disciples to have more donation. I don't really value that. If you have a mistake, I would say that was a mistake. When you make the offerings to me, you will have more blessing, and I will lose my blessing. The merit for volunteering at the temple, such as cutting grass, is your benefit, not mine. Then why should I sweet talk to you? The merit from giving a Dharma talk will be shared between you and me because you bow to me. Instead of having 100%, I can only have 70% of the blessing. Imagine if I accept your envelope. How much blessing would I use up? Why would I want to trade those things for my blessing? Therefore, you must understand, when I talk openly and hurt your ego, those who understand the Diamond Sutra would not be mad at me. Those who would not think that they have donated $10,000 during the Buddhist monk retreat to rebuild the reciting Buddha's name hall, or gave Buddhist nuns Hamduk, the medicine Buddha, and Amitabha Buddha statues, and the master did not appreciate me. If I had made a mistake, why didn't the Master tell me in person instead of in front of the Shangha? Then this person is still attached to the form of selfness, forms of others, forms of sentient beings, which are the Shangha, forms of giving and receiving, which are praise and insults. So this mad person marches forward to hit me. If he is willing to hit me, then his ego is higher than mine. If he was mad enough to kill me, then his ego will be enormous. That was the reason the Buddha said our ego will determine whether we head to the upper or lower realm. If you will be around someone with smaller ego, then you will feel more peaceful than someone with higher ego. A monk or a nun who has been cultivating for a long time, but when you are around them, you do not dare to laugh or feel scared because you might make mistakes. Then this monk or nun has a high ego and tends to discipline their followers. A monk should cultivate so that other sentient beings feel like they like to be around him because they feel happiness. A monk who preaches Dharma but still cling to his followers' opinion has to sit still, both hands placed on the table and eyes look straight. That is not me. I am not myself if I do that. As I prepare my Dharma talk, the followers would make me change to their personal thoughts. That would be theirs and not my own Dharma talk. If I am not free from the attachment, how do I preach the Diamond Sutra to help other beings to become free? As you can see, Master Thong Lai preaches Dharma without formality like other monks, because I am free from the praise and insults. I preach Dharma based on the essence of the Diamond Sutra. On previous Dharma talks, a Venerable called me to criticize me. He said that I did not practice formality because I move my arms up and down while preaching Dharma. I asked him, do you know what sutra I was preaching? He said it was the Diamond Sutra. But why was I waving my arms? I told him that I was preaching Diamond Sutra to free from the four forms. If I still attach to the form of praise and insult, formalities and informality, then I could not teach or preach the Diamond Sutra. The Venerable then immediately hung up the phone. You should go to the temple that helps your wife lower her ego. In the old days, she used to cook and wash for you. After she went to the temple, listened to the monk preach Diamond Sutras, then she told you that there is no form of husband and form of wives. You and her are equal. She has not lived with the Diamond Sutra ever since the monk told her to recite the Buddha's name more frequently. Children and spouses are your debt, and husband and wives are from previous karmas. She no longer cooks for you, but she cooks for the Venerable monks, because cooking for her husband doesn't earn any merit as cooking for monks. The money to buy clothes for her husband will be used to make offerings to the monk. Instead of doing dishes at home, she will sew cassocks for the Venerable to earn merit. That teaching was wrong and not based on the Diamond Sutra. She should help to pay bills and to share misery and happiness with her husband, who has children with her. If she wakes up at 4 a.m. and recites the Shangrama Sutra, she then cooks very delicious meals and brought them to the temple to offer the Venerable along with her husband's salary. Her husband left with a note letting him know that she went to temple and should eat instant noodle if he is hungry. She would send him her earning merits. There is no merits to give to him. These Venerables are users. As you can see, most of the attachments came from the temple. Therefore, as you practice Dharma, your house should become pagoda as well. If you bully your husband and your children, or do wrong things like the 7 types of wives that were listed by the Buddha, they are killer, thieves, owner, friendly, motherly, sisterly, and nanny. The thief always finds a way to steal from her husband for her own pleasure. The killer wife always places her own benefits first. Owner's wife treats her husband like a servant. These 3 types of wives will never become a Buddha and never go to any higher realm. A friendly wife treats her husband equally. A sisterly wife respects her husband as a younger brother. A motherly wife loves her husband unconditionally. Please pay attention. Any monk who only taught to benefit the temple and only benefit the family, then this monk practiced wrongly and does not follow the mid-dharma. You see that in the old days, the wife cooks food on Sunday for her husband, children, and my grandchildren. And now she only cooks for the monks. She completely practices Buddhism the wrong way. I tell you the truth, even though this will cause damage to my system. But Diamond Sutra is diamond. But this diamond cannot be bought by money and gold. I have to preach the truth so that you can practice Dharma. Your husband and children still come to Buddhism. Back then you had many bad qualities. Now you have many good qualities. Obviously your master is blessed. If your master taught you to become more selfish, neglect your husband and children, and not fulfill your duty to them, your master will be reborn in hell, and you won't go to heaven either. If knowing the world was an illusion, then heaven would also be a dream. If staying at home is an illusion, then staying at the temple is also an illusion. If living at home is a dream, then living at the temple is also not reality. If the master entices you to serve him without serving your family, he is not right. Please wake up and listen to me. When the angel soars their wings away, the miracle is born from the dirt. The master no longer is able to convince you to be reborn in heaven. Then the miracle will happen from your own house and not anywhere else. The family is on the verge of breaking down because of divorce, but turns into happiness. The conscious heart immerses in the happiness. The pink lotus blossoms from the black mud. Please practice like the never despite Bodhisattva. You vow not to disrespect a mundane, so don't despite your husband and children. I would like to stop here, and this Dharma talk will be translated in English so that the second generation who was born in the United States continues to hear the Mahana Dharma. I only need a few thousands of listeners to the Diamond Sutra and only need 10 people to rid their delusional mind and to remain their true mind. These people can lessen their miseries. As they reduce their suffering, they would detach and they would bring happiness to human beings and from life. That is the merit that Buddha wanted from from this Diamond Sutra. Respectfully yours, and I vow to dedicate this merit to all sentient beings in this cosmos. As the Buddha said, whoever can preach a 4-verse of this Diamond Sutra or the Lotus Sutra will receive the unpredictable merit. I don't dedicate this merit not to be reborn in heaven. I don't dedicate this merit to be reborn in Pure Land realm. I also don't dedicate this merit to attain Arhat level. But I dedicate this merit so that all sentient beings will be able to break the 4 forms. Forms of selfness, forms of others, forms of sentient beings, and forms of giving and receiving. And to rid the delusional mind and to retain the true mind. Every sentient being is a living spirit. I do not dare to despise you because you will be a Buddha one day. Respectfully yours. Once again, I'd like to dedicate the merits to all sentient beings on this planet from the coronavirus pandemic to be safe. Nam mô Công đức làm Bồ Tát.